I became my husband's curse, and his only salvation. The rain was coming down so hard it felt like the sky was trying to drown the world. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as the tires skidded on the mountain road. Every muscle in my body was tense, my breath shallow, my heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. In the rearview mirror, I saw the headlights of Jae Min's car following close, too close. Why is he tailing me like this? I thought, panic rising in my throat. The curve came faster than I expected. My car swerved, the back fishtailing on the slick asphalt. I tried to correct, but the wheel felt like it had a mind of its own. The guardrail rushed at me. There was a sickening crunch. The world flipped upside down. Water, cold, merciless, smashed through the shattered window. It poured into the car, filling the cabin, clawing at my body like icy fingers. My lungs burned as I fought to hold my breath. I tried to unbuckle, to push the door, but everything felt heavy, slow, like I was trapped in a nightmare. And then I saw him. Through the broken windshield, up on the cliff, Jae Min stood in the rain. His suit clung to his frame, his hair plastered to his forehead. His face was pale, his eyes dark hollows in the storm. But it was the smile that made the air leave my lungs. He was smiling. Calm. Cold. Watching me drown. No. Darkness swallowed me whole. When I opened my eyes, I was standing at the foot of our bed. The room was dim, the only light coming from the moon filtering through sheer curtains. The rain whispered against the windows, a soft, steady murmur that filled the silence. I felt nothing. No wet clothes clinging to my skin, no cold, no weight. Just emptiness. Jae Min was asleep, or trying to be. He tossed and turned, his breath ragged. His face was gaunt, shadows pooling beneath his eyes. He muttered something, my name. Ilia? My heart twisted. Even now, hearing him say my name made me ache. I took a step forward, the floorboards creaking beneath me. Or did they? I couldn't tell if the sound was real or imagined. My reflection in the tall mirror by the wardrobe was faint, a ghostly outline barely visible in the silver light. I raised a hand. It felt like it wasn't mine. Why? He shifted again, sitting up suddenly. His eyes were wild, scanning the room. Who's there? His voice cracked. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Or maybe it did. Maybe only he could hear it. My mind raced. The crash. The water. His smile. Did he plan this? I tried to remember everything at once. Our wedding, the nights we laughed until we cried, the mornings he kissed my forehead like I was his whole world. And now, this. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside me. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. The cold I hadn't felt until now seeped into my bones. He left me to die. Jae Min swung his legs over the bed, standing on shaky feet. He looked toward where I stood, his eyes wide with something between fear and guilt. Ilia. If you're here, I'm sorry. His voice was so small, so broken, it almost shattered me. But then I remembered that smile, that calm watching smile as I sank beneath the water. And the ache in my chest hardened into something else. Anger. The kind of anger that burns quiet and deep, that doesn't need to scream to be deadly. I didn't know what I was. A ghost? A memory? A curse? But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let him sleep easy anymore. I tried to leave. I don't know where I thought I was going. I didn't have a body, or breath, or heartbeat. But something in me needed to move, to get as far from Jae Min as whatever force had brought me back would allow. I walked down the hallway. The lights flickered. The floor didn't creak beneath my steps. A painting on the wall, one we'd chosen together, looked faded now. Or maybe it was me who'd faded. I reached the front door. Put my hand on the knob. Nothing. It was like pressing my palm against glass. The door wouldn't open. Or maybe I couldn't pass through it. I tried again. Harder. I pushed. I screamed, though I wasn't sure if sound even existed for me now. The house didn't answer. The only pull I felt was back, to him. To Jae Min. No matter how far I moved, some invisible thread kept tugging me toward him. Not just toward his body, but his presence, his soul. I was tied to him. And I hated it. He wasn't sleeping anymore. Not really. He'd wake up drenched in sweat, muttering, pacing the room in slow circles. The man who once stood before boardrooms with perfect composure now flinched at his own reflection. He looked worse every day. Hollow eyes. Shaky hands. The confident curve of his lips replaced by a nervous twitch. He snapped at the maid. Threw a glass in his office when his assistant called too early. And I watched. I floated beside him like his shadow, invisible to everyone else. The more I stayed near, the more he deteriorated. It was like I was poison in the air he breathed. And I wanted to be. I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to feel the panic I felt as the water filled my lungs. To lie awake the way I used to, wondering where he was and who he was with. I wanted him to break. But sometimes, I remembered. It was a summer afternoon. Warm rain, not heavy. Just enough to shimmer the world in silver. We were in a park, under a tree. His suit jacket was soaked, his tie loosened, his eyes fixed on me with a kind of wonder that made me dizzy. I never believed in fate, he said, brushing wet hair from my cheek. Until I met you. You're such a liar, I laughed, swatting at his chest. I'm serious, he whispered. If I ever hurt you, Ilia, may the universe destroy me? Then he kissed me. The kind of kiss that felt like a promise, one I foolishly thought he'd never break. Now, that same mouth muttered apologies to the dark. He sat at his desk, a half-finished email glowing on the screen. His fingers hovered over the keyboard but never touched it. He leaned back, exhaled. Then he turned fast, like he felt me. Ilia? He said again, for the third night in a row. Are you here? His voice cracked at the end. And something cracked in me, too. I didn't want to care. I wanted to scream that I was here, that I saw him, saw everything, and I knew the truth. But I said nothing. Because the truth was, I wasn't ready, not to forgive, not even to confront. I just wanted to watch him fall apart. And yet, with every broken breath he took, a small part of me broke too. There was a mirror in the corner of the room. Antique. His mother's, I think. Sometimes, when the moonlight hit just right, I could see myself. Not fully. Not like before. Just a trace. As if the memory of me was being reflected, not the reality. And sometimes, I looked at that ghost. And I didn't know if she was grieving or haunting, maybe both. The house grew darker with each passing night. Or maybe that was just Jae Min. He turned off lights but forgot to turn them back on. He skipped meetings, missed calls. He wasn't being punished by some vengeful spirit. He was being undone by guilt. And I was its shape. I stayed near him. Not because I had a choice. But because a part of me wanted to understand how someone who once held me like treasure could now act like my death was just a mistake he could drink away. There were nights when I almost reached out. When my fingers hovered near his shoulder. When I leaned in, hoping, foolishly, he'd say something real. But then I'd remember the smile, that damned smile. And the pull inside me would tighten. Stronger than hate. Deeper than grief. I was his curse. But part of me still remembered being his salvation. The first time So Yun stepped through the front door of the house, I felt it like a shift in the air, as if the walls themselves recoiled at her presence. She came in quietly, moving with the grace of someone who was used to being watched. Her long black coat glistened with rain, and when she took it off, she revealed a delicate frame that seemed too fragile for the storm outside. But her eyes, they were anything but fragile. Sharp. Calculating. She placed her bag on the table in the entryway. From it, she drew out small objects, charms, amulets, things carved with strange symbols. I recognized nothing, and yet my entire being bristled at the sight of them. In the living room she lit candles. Not ordinary candles. These burned blue at the tips, flickering unnaturally against the dark. I watched from the doorway, unable to cross the threshold. The glow of the flames seemed to form an invisible barrier. One I wasn't sure I wanted to test. What are you doing, So Yun? Jae Min appeared a few minutes later. His shirt was wrinkled, hair disheveled, eyes hollow. So-yeon, he breathed, like saying her name might anchor him to reality. She smiled, soft and sweet, as if she were some kind of savior. "You're not sleeping again, are you?" she asked gently, brushing his hair back like I used to. The sight made my insides twist. "I can't," he admitted, his voice low, desperate. "She's here. I know she's here." So-yeon's smile didn't falter, but I saw it. A flicker of something else in her gaze. Fear. "Jae Min, love," she cooed, guiding him to sit. "You're exhausted. Let me help. You trust me, don't you?" He nodded like a child. And I wanted to scream. Because I saw it now, the way she fed his weakness, encouraged his dependence. Every soothing word was a chain around his neck. "You're not helping him," I thought. "You're feeding off him." Later, I followed her to the study. The room smelled of old wood, ink, and the faint scent of lavender that clung to the books lining the walls. The curtains were drawn tight, and the only light came from a single lamp and the cluster of candles she set on the floor. She knelt, spreading out the amulets in a precise pattern, muttering words I didn't recognize. Symbols drawn in chalk formed a circle around her, and I felt it, like static in the air, prickling at the edges of my existence. So-yeon closed her eyes. Her lips moved faster, the words tumbling out in a language older than the house itself. And then she froze. Her eyes snapped open, and for a heartbeat they locked on where I stood. She couldn't see me. I knew she couldn't. But she felt me. The fear returned, sharper this time. Her hands trembled as she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out another charm, this one etched with red lines that glowed faintly in the candlelight. She pressed it to her chest. "Leave him," she whispered, voice cracking. "Leave him, and go. You don't belong here." I should have felt powerful in that moment. I should have reveled in her fear. But all I felt was cold. Because for the first time, I realized So-yeon knew something. She wasn't just some woman clinging to Jae Min for comfort or power. She understood what I was, or at least she thought she did. And she was afraid. Her ritual continued. She chanted, sprinkled salt in a wide arc, placed charms at the corners of the room. The symbols on the floor seemed to pulse with each word, as if the house itself was listening. I felt the pull, the circle trying to draw me in, to trap me. I stepped back instinctively, but it didn't matter. Whatever force she tried to summon couldn't touch me. Her voice rose, desperation bleeding through the practiced cadence of her words. And then, silence. The candles flickered and went out, one by one. So-yeon slumped forward, breathing hard, sweat dampening her brow. It didn't work. She knew it. And I knew she wouldn't stop trying. Jae Min came looking for her soon after. He found her sitting in the study, head in her hands. "So-yeon?" he asked, worry in his voice. She lifted her face and smiled again. That same soft, sweet smile that no longer fooled me. "Just tired," she said. "I'm here for you. Always." He believed her. He always did. And I stayed, watching, waiting. Because whatever game So-yeon thought she was playing, she wasn't the only one with secrets. The first dream came in fragments. Water, cold and black, pulling him down. A voice, soft but urgent, calling his name. "Hwan. Hwan. Help me." He woke drenched in sweat, the sound of it echoing in his ears. He stared at the ceiling of his small apartment, the city's glow bleeding through the blinds. Ilia's voice. It couldn't be. And yet, when sleep claimed him again, the dream returned. This time, clearer. Ilia, her hair fanned out in dark water, her eyes wide with sorrow. Her lips moved, but the words were lost to the current pulling her under. Hwan spent the next morning pacing his cramped living room, the dream gnawing at the edges of his mind. Books lay open on the coffee table, histories of old families, superstitions, myths. He'd always had a fascination with the stories people tried to forget. He rubbed his face, trying to shake the weight of sleep, but the image of Ilia wouldn't leave him. "What are you trying to tell me?" He pulled a battered leather-bound volume from the shelf, a book he'd found at a market years ago, full of half-legends about powerful families and their buried sins. He flipped through until he found the page he remembered. The Han lineage, cursed by the tears of the betrayed. His heart skipped. He scanned the passage. When a woman's love is broken by deceit, her spirit binds to the blood that wronged her, a shadow until justice or forgiveness is won. By noon, he was in Jae Min's office. The place was a stark contrast to the man who occupied it. The furniture was sleek, the windows spotless, the shelves lined with awards and photographs that spoke of a man in control. But Jae Min himself was anything but. He stood behind his desk, staring at nothing. His suit hung loose on him now, his face pale, as if sleep had abandoned him for good. "Juan," he said without looking up, "what are you doing here?" Juan hesitated. The last time they'd spoken had been at Ilia's memorial, a cold, formal event that felt more like a business transaction than a goodbye. "I need to ask you something," Juan said carefully. "And I need you to be honest with me." Jae Min laughed bitterly, rubbing his temples. "Honest? Now? After everything?" Juan stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Are you seeing her?" Jae Min froze. "What do you mean?" "In your dreams, in the shadows. Do you feel like she's near?" For a long moment, Jae Min said nothing. Then he sank into his chair, burying his face in his hands. "Every night," he admitted, voice muffled. "I hear her. I see her. I feel like she's watching me. I think I'm losing my mind." Juan's throat tightened. "You're not crazy," he said softly. Jae Min looked up, hollow eyes searching his friend's face for an answer. "Then what is happening to me?" Juan hesitated, then placed the book on the desk, open to the passage. "I think you know." Jae Min stared at the page, but it was clear the words barely registered. "A curse?" he whispered. "A bond," Juan corrected. "One you created." Jae Min's hands trembled as he shut the book. "I didn't mean for this. I didn't want—" "But you did," Juan interrupted gently. "You wanted her gone. And now she can't leave." Jae Min shook his head, as if trying to shake the guilt from his bones. "What am I supposed to do?" Juan exhaled slowly. "Figure out what she wants. What she needs to be free." They sat in silence, the weight of the truth filling the room like a storm about to break. That night, Juan dreamed again. Ilia, standing on the shore, her hair whipping in the wind, her eyes fierce. "Juan," she said, "it's not too late." And when he woke, he believed her. The house felt heavier that night, as if it too carried the weight of secrets too long buried. I don't know what pulled me to the attic. Maybe it was the wind rattling the windows, or the strange creak of the floorboards overhead as I drifted through the halls. Maybe it was instinct, or something older than instinct, something woven into the bones of this place. The door to the attic groaned on its hinges. Dust choked the air, motes swirling in the thin beam of moonlight that spilled through the cracked window. I moved carefully, though nothing could touch me now. Old trunks, broken chairs, forgotten portraits with faces faded by time, all crowded together, relics of lives that no longer mattered. But one thing stood out. A chest, carved with symbols I didn't recognize, tucked beneath a heavy tarp in the corner. I knelt beside it, my fingers brushing over the wood, and the lock, long rusted, crumbled away as if it too had waited for this moment. Inside were books, not ledgers or letters, but journals. The covers worn, pages yellowed, but the ink still dark. I opened the first one, and the words leapt out at me. "My name is Hyunju Han, and this is my truth, for no one will speak it when I am gone." I read. Through the night, I read. And with each word, my horror grew. Hyunju's story was mine, or perhaps, mine was hers. A woman married into the Han family, cherished at first, then discarded when ambition or convenience demanded it. Betrayed. Silenced. And when she died, whether by accident or design, her spirit lingered, bound not by choice, but by blood. And she was not the first. Every generation, it seemed, bore the weight of a woman wronged, her love twisted into chains that haunted the men who broke it. The Han family wasn't just cursed, they were the curse. A legacy of heartbreak and shadows, passed down like property. I closed the book, my hands, if they could be called that anymore, trembling. Is this all I am? Another link in a chain of sorrow? Downstairs, So Yun moved through the house like she owned it. I followed her to the library, that cold, silent place where the air always seemed too still. She lit candles in a circle, their flames casting strange shapes on the walls. She stood before the tall mirror, staring at her reflection. And then she spoke, not to me, not to Jae Min, to herself, or to whatever force she served. "I've done what you asked," she whispered, voice sharp with bitterness. "I've brought the family to its knees. I've kept him weak. I've let the shadows feed." Her reflection seemed to waver in the candlelight, as if the glass no longer held her image, but something darker. "I want my freedom. No more debts, no more games. When the last of the Han blood is broken, you will let me go." She paused, drawing in a shaky breath. "And the woman's spirit, the one you forced back. She's too strong. I can't bind her." Her hands clenched at her sides. "I will destroy them both if I have to. Jae Min, the spirit, all of it, just let me be free." The candles flickered violently, as if the room itself shuddered at her words. I felt it then. Truly felt it. I wasn't the player, I was the piece. So Yun wasn't just here out of love or ambition. She was trapped in a web as tangled as mine. A servant to a force that had been feeding on this family's pain for generations. I drifted back to the attic, to the journals, desperate for answers that wouldn't come. Outside the wind howled, and the house creaked under the weight of a storm building far beyond the clouds. And inside me, the storm grew louder still. Because now I knew the truth. And the truth was terrifying. The house had gone quiet, the kind of silence that pressed against your ears, so heavy it felt alive. Jae Min's bedroom was dark except for the thin line of moonlight creeping through the curtains. He lay tangled in the sheets, his chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. I stood at the foot of the bed, as I often did, watching him, waiting for... I didn't even know what anymore. Then, he spoke. Not loud, not clear. But the words slipped out, raw and broken. "I didn't mean for this," he whispered. His voice trembled like a man caught between waking and nightmare. "Ilia, I didn't want this. I didn't want you to..." His breath hitched. "Forgive me. Please." The sound of him pleading, truly pleading, cracked something inside me. For so long I'd fed on the fire of my anger, the memory of his smile as I drowned. But now, that fire flickered, weakened by the weight of his voice. I saw him not as the man who betrayed me, but as the man I had once loved. A man crumbling beneath the ruin he'd made. And for the first time since I came back, I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. I didn't notice the shift at first. The faint hum beneath the floor, the sharp tang in the air, like metal and smoke. But then, I felt it. A pull, not from Jae Min this time, but from below. I followed it down the stairs, through the cold, empty halls, until I reached the door to the cellar. It was open, and beyond it, the flicker of candlelight. Hwan stood inside the circle, chalk lines drawn on the cracked stone floor, symbols etched around him. His face was pale, focused, his lips moving in a chant I couldn't hear. "Hwan?" I tried to call out, but my voice didn't reach him. So Yun watched from the shadows, a cruel smile playing at her lips. She waited until he was deep in the ritual, until the symbols began to glow faintly with a sickly light. And then she moved, a charm in her hand, red and pulsing, a thread of dark energy snaking toward Hwan's feet. He didn't see it, but I did. I didn't think. I just acted. I stepped into the circle, the force of it hitting me like a wall. My form wavered, the edges of my existence fraying, but I pushed forward. The charm's thread wrapped around my arm, burning like fire, but I pulled it away from Hwan, drawing the energy into myself. So Yun's eyes widened in shock, then fury. "No," she hissed, "you don't get to save him." But it was too late. The charm shattered in my grip, its power scattering like ash. Hwan staggered back, gasping, as the glow of the circle faded. He looked around, confused, as if sensing I'd been there, but unable to see me. So Yun backed into the shadows, vanishing before he could spot her. And I felt the price of what I'd done. The strength that had tied me so tightly to this world weakened, as if I'd given part of myself away to protect him. When I drifted back upstairs, Jae Min was still muttering in his sleep. "Ilia, I'm sorry." And I didn't know if I hated him or pitied him anymore. Maybe both. The house pulsed with unnatural energy. I could feel it in the walls, in the floorboards, in the very air that no longer belonged to the living. So-yeon stood in the grand hall, the largest room in the house, where the moonlight poured through tall windows like silver rivers. Around her candles flickered, their flames elongated and strange, casting monstrous shadows on the walls. She had drawn the circle perfectly this time, runes in chalk, salt and blood, intertwined in patterns older than language. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting endless images of So-yeon, of the circle, of the growing darkness. I watched from the edge of the room, feeling the pull of what she was trying to summon. And I knew. She wasn't just calling me. She was calling all of them. Every betrayed woman bound to the Han bloodline. Every spirit trapped in sorrow, waiting, aching for release or revenge. So-yeon's voice rose in a chant, low at first, then louder, stronger, until it filled the hall like a storm. I call upon the broken. I call upon the wronged. I call upon the forgotten. Come, take what you are owed. The air thickened. The mirrors darkened, shapes forming behind the glass, faces, eyes, mouths open in silent screams. The ground trembled beneath us. I felt their pain, their fury, their longing. But I felt something else too. The weight of my own choice. I stepped forward. The circle fought me, its magic lashing out, but I kept going. Because I wasn't here for vengeance anymore. I was here to end this. I thought of Jae Min, the man who broke me, yes, but also the man who once held me like I was precious. The man who now lived in torment, hollowed out by guilt. I thought of the love that had been real, before it was twisted. And I spoke, not with words, but with the memory of that love. Enough. The room shuddered. The chant faltered. The mirrors cracked, lines spiderwebbing across the glass. So-yeon spun to face me, or where she felt me. Her eyes wide, furious. "No, you can't stop this. I'm so close." But I could. And I did. I poured everything I had left into that one thought, that one feeling. Forgiveness. Not for him, not for her. For myself. For every woman who had been a link in this chain. The chains broke. One by one the spirits faded, their faces softening, their eyes closing in peace as they vanished into the light of the dawn that had just begun to seep through the windows. The circle collapsed, the candles extinguished in a rush of wind. So-yeon fell to her knees, the power gone from her eyes, from her voice. She looked at the ruin around her, at the empty mirrors, and then she ran, out of the hall, out of the house, into whatever darkness awaited her. And I stood in the silence she left behind. Free. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, soft and golden, washing the world clean. The storm had passed. The house stood silent, exhausted, as if it too had been freed. And Jae Min, he knelt on the shore behind the house, where the river met the edge of the property. His hands were buried in the wet sand, his shoulders shaking with the weight of everything he'd lost, everything he'd done. I stood a few steps away, though he couldn't see me. Not really. But somehow, he felt me. His head lifted, his face streaked with tears, his eyes swollen and hollow, but searching. Always searching. "Ilia," he whispered. His voice broke. "I don't deserve it, but please, forgive me. I'm sorry, for everything." He meant it. I could feel it. The rawness of his grief, the truth of his regret. And for the first time, I felt no anger. No weight, no chains. Just the quiet ache of what could have been. I stepped closer, the wind carrying the scent of the river, of morning, of new beginnings. And I let him feel me, just for a moment. The warmth of the woman I'd been. The love that had once existed between us, untainted by betrayal or sorrow. "I forgive you," I whispered, though I knew the words were more for me than for him. His eyes closed, as if the weight on his soul lifted, just a little. The sun rose higher, casting gold over the water. I felt myself growing lighter, my edges softening. the tether that had bound me to this place unraveling thread by thread. It was time. Time to let go. Time to set myself free. Jae Min remained on the shore, alone now, but with a chance, a real chance, to rebuild. To become the man I had once believed he could be. I watched him for a final moment. Not out of bitterness, not out of longing, but because even now, a small part of me wished him well. And then I turned toward the light. The house behind me. The river before me. The world open at last. Sometimes salvation means letting go, and so I did.